Welcome everyone to show 9 of the Global Commute, the 24-hour Global Commute. And over this 24 hours, we are visiting every time zone on the planet, and we have some amazing guests lined up. I'm Kate Holmes, host of the Innovating Advice podcast, and my co-host for this show is XY Planning Network's Director of Member Services, Maddie Roach. Hey, Maddie.
Hello, everyone.
I am so happy to have you here. When NextGen sort of presented this initiative to me and we were talking about it, I was thinking, what an awesome way of bringing together all of these sort of NextGen groups around the world. So Maddie, having you here from XYPN is fantastic. We've got people from XY Advisor in Australia on in a few hours. And one of the things that really got me thinking about you, Maddie, I mean, I've known you for years, but is really around your abundance mentality. So share a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. I've had to train myself to appreciate the abundance mentality, but whether it's in the work that I do or how I live my life, accepting the abundance mentality is something I've committed to. But most importantly, in this space, in this financial planning industry of ours, I think the abundance mentality is so important, not only in our own view of how we can do financially, but on the work that advisors can do for clients to help them instill that feeling that the future is theirs to take control of.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all coming together, right? It's so great seeing this next generation of financial planners and now being an opportunity to connect them around the world and knowing that we're not in competition with each other. Like you said, just so much abundance in financial services, financial planning to all come together and have that rising tide lift all boats.
Absolutely. I think the sooner advisors can appreciate that there's no finite number of clients out there, the more we can raise the bar for all of us and really start changing the industry the way that it should be.
Yeah. So for those that aren't familiar, give us a quick overview of what XYPN does and how you're disrupting financial planning in the US.
Sure. Yeah. XY Planning Network just had its 6th birthday. We're located up here in Bozeman, Montana now. Back when we started, we were a remote team with only 30 founding members around the country. Now we have over 1,200 fee-only fiduciary financial advisors. About 90% of those advisors are in the process of or currently running their own independent RIAs. So what XYPN does is support them from the back end with all the support that they need, from compliance to marketing to a community of like-minded advisors that will allow people to leverage the institutional knowledge of each other to better serve their clients. What we're doing at XYPN is really bringing financial planning to the next generation. Advisors typically do work with underserved communities, underserved generations, and as Marguerite Chen said earlier today, a lot of people thought that wasn't going to work out 10 years ago. But guess what? Young people need planning. We want planning, and we've got a lot of really awesome, incredible planners who are ready to serve up some fabulous financial planning to them.
Yeah. And now I'm hearing TikTok might be the new way of getting some of that financial planning information out there.
Yes, I'm amazed on Instagram and Twitter and all this stuff. Social media is not going away, where it's a new way to get into the ears and eyes of the next generation.
Yeah, definitely. So for listeners out there, you can hear a lot more about Maddie and XYPN on episode 11 of the Innovating Advice show. And diving into this show here and throughout the 24-hour Global Commute, we are raising money for some great charities. So here in the US, we're looking to raise funds for Quad A, the Association of African American Financial Advisors, and Color of Change, both in support of the Black Lives Matter movement in the US. And the team in the UK is raising money for 2 great charities there in CF Warriors, helping kids overcome cystic fibrosis, and the Stroke Association. But we've got listeners from all over the world, and so we absolutely encourage you to donate to a charity of your choice and then shoot us a message and let us know, because we want to keep a running total of that to really show what the global financial planning community can do when we all come together. So we've got more about all that on the show in a little bit, but Maddie, what do we have coming up now?
Sure. Yeah, we get to interview Dr. Brad Klontz, the founder of Financial Psychology Institute. But first, we also have Impact Focus with performance coach Dominique Colenso. And then we're going to have a City Wire intro with Alex Rosenberg. We're going to have a packed show today. Hopefully we'll get it all in.
Fantastic. So I am just looking, do we have the news here?
We're Here's our news.
We might not have them tuned in just yet. In which case, we will pop over to Chris Budd, host of the Financial Wellbeing podcast and founder of the Initiative for Financial Wellbeing. And continuing that theme, let's get Chris's financial wellbeing thought for the day. Chris, what do you have for us on this show?
Thank you, Kate. Also bringing to you from the UK a classier shirt than last time, but I've got a real doozy coming up for the last show. A real cracker. I'll look forward to that shirt. Also, the field outside me is currently being harvested, literally outside my window just here, so I apologise for the noise. The Initiative for Financial Wellbeing is a new institute we've set up here in the UK, and it's all about helping financial advisors and financial planners to help their clients use money to be happier, not just wealthier. We look at all sorts of aspects of how money can be used as a tool to engender happiness in people, in our clients. We know that there's certain truths about this, that there's truths that are the same for everybody, such as if you see money as the objective, you will be less happy than you would otherwise have been. And there's also what's true about each of us. And so we need that know thyself, which is the underlying principle we use. Know thyself, know your client, help your client to know thyself. And there's a real disconnect, it seems to me, between what the financial advice profession and also financial services in general wants to talk about to clients, which is money and investments, and what the clients want to talk about, which is their lives, purpose of their money, motivations. I've been talking about quite a few times on this commute. And I thought I'd take as an example investment risk. Now, risk is a broad and fascinating subject. And when we ask clients about their attitude to investment risk, we ask them questions which are skewed. They tend to be about money, about investment. And so we don't get their true attitude to investment risk. And it strikes me we have right at the moment a real opportunity to delve really deep into clients' attitude to investment. Because one of the questions that these questionnaires very often ask is, how would you feel if the stock market went down by 20%? Well, it just has. So why don't we ask them again, how are you feeling about it right now, and compare that with what they answered in the risk questionnaire. Now, I talked about this a little while ago, and one UK advisor, a guy called Rich Ellis, did ask one of his clients this very question in his next meeting. He said, how anxious are you feeling about the stock market? And they said, I'm feeling very anxious. And he pointed them back to the original questionnaire when they said, if the stock market went down by 20%, I wouldn't feel anxious. And clearly there was a disconnect there. And it gave an opportunity to have a conversation about that client's real attitude to investment risk. So my tip today is ask your clients, how are you feeling about the stock market, and compare that to their original risk questionnaire, and then start a conversation with them of a much wider nature about risk in their lives.
Chris, that's great. And that so emphasizes the, fact that financial planning is a process, not an event. So always finding and taking those opportunities to revisit. And even if they were in a life situation where, they weren't worried about it, maybe it's because they've also lost their job, or somebody in their family's gotten sick, or, in addition to just the investment stuff, so much can happen. So great reminder to all of us to continually revisit, check in with clients, see how they're doing, see what's changed, and adjust their plans as needed to reflect what's going on in their life. So love that. And I'm super curious to see the shirt on the next show. So we'll look out for that. So we're going to cross over to Maddie, who is chatting with today's guest, Dr. Brad Klontz.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you, Chris. Wonderful tip. Brad, I'm really honored to be interviewing you. You're the founder of the Financial Psychology Institute. Before we learn a little bit about you, tell us what the Financial Psychology Institute is.
Sure. First of all, it's such an honor to be here. I just love financial planners. Oh my goodness. I mean, honestly, so if you don't mind me to just digress a little bit here, I'm just feeling so much love for you all right now. Really, the number one stressor in the lives of at least people in the United States, I'm talking 3 out of 4 Americans, is money. And financial stress kills people. I mean, there's actually been tons of studies done on this. It's a huge mortality risk factor. And who do you go see when you have financial stress? Well, the studies we've done, you don't really go see a therapist, frankly, because therapists aren't good with money. And so I see us as an entire army of financial health physicians that are here to, frankly, to help improve people's lives, help extend their lives. It's just such an incredible job. So let me just start with that.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah, so Financial Psychology Institute, we really focus there on the intersection between finances and psychology and looking at people's relationship with money. And so we have training programs, continuing ed, we do research, but the entire focus is really on looking at somebody holistically, and psychology looks at individuals through that lens. So blending the two is really the focus.
Beautiful. So tell us a bit about your background. What got you into this space? What got you interested in financial planning? And then how did you come to be the founder of this?
Sure. So I got a doctorate in clinical psychology, which is no small thing. And along the way, I had to borrow a bunch of money to do it. So I had about $100,000 in student loan debt when I got out of school. I was always interested in the psychology of money and wealth and all this. And part of that was my curiosity growing up in a lower income family and looking around and saying, wow, my family, a bunch of hard workers, really solid people, like, some branches of my family have been in the United States since the Mayflower. And I'm looking around, I'm like, how come we don't own any property? Like, what's going on here? Why do we have generations of poverty in my family system? So I think I was always sort of curious about that. And when I got out of school and I owed that debt, I saw a friend of mine make $100,000 in 1 year trading stocks. And I thought it was a brilliant idea, like, because he knew nothing about the stock market, which is exactly how much I knew at the time. And I thought, what a brilliant idea for me to get out of debt. So I sold everything I owned of value and I put it all in the stock market. And I had a fabulous 3 months, and then the tech bubble burst. And I saw myself, all my money melting away. And it was heart-wrenching. I felt so stupid, And so what I did essentially is I tried to figure out, so why did I do what I did? Like, I'm a reasonably intelligent person. I did something radically stupid with my money. And so I started to do some lit reviews in psychology, and I was sort of stunned that the field of psychology had utterly ignored money for over 100 years. And again, it's the biggest source of stress in people's lives, and psychologists, our goal, a lot of it is to help people deal with stress. So I was pretty alarmed by that. And I sort of joke within the matter of a couple of weeks, I became the world's leading expert in financial psychology because psychologists had totally ignored it. And so what I did is I got extremely curious about my own psychology. And of course, you immediately blame your mother if you're a psychologist and you run into problems. I'm sort of teasing mothers there. Psychology, we have a tendency to do that. But I actually went home and I interviewed my mother and I interviewed my father. And I took notes. What was it like for you growing up around money? What was it like? How did you feel about your socioeconomic status growing up? What did grandma and grandpa do? And I found all these stories that went back for generations that I had no idea existed that totally explained my own, hangups around money. So I got really passionate from there.
Love it. I think that's such a good point, that there's really generational impact when it comes to collecting and gathering money and resources. You've edited and co-authored at least 5 books on the topic of psychology and money. I'm interested, and I know this is a general question, but what are some of the key patterns that you're seeing with regards to that intersectionality?
Yeah, so one of the key things that we have found, and I've focused my research in a couple areas, but one of those areas are, what are these beliefs we have about money? Money is a huge taboo topic in our culture, so nobody really talks about it. Like, a lot of our beliefs around things get challenged at the dinner table or going over to a friend's house and seeing, for example, how their relationship works, our friends' parents. We talk about relationships when we're going to school and all that, but we don't talk about money. And so it's this big secret topic that people have. So there's not a lot of opportunities to examine what in our research we've called money scripts. And these are the beliefs that we inherit from our family system. And they're incredibly profound. And for most of us, we're not even aware that we have them. It's just sort of like it's like water for a fish. We're just swimming around in these beliefs thinking that this is how the world works. And in our research, we have found that these beliefs are incredibly powerful predictors of your income, your net worth, your financial behaviors, your credit card debt. I mean, a whole list of financial behaviors. And so one of the things that I write a lot about and I research a lot about is helping people understand and get in touch with what are these beliefs, and because they're having a profound impact on your life. And the fabulous thing about it is that when you can find some of those beliefs that aren't working so well, you can change them and then you have different results.
Interesting. And I'm interested, how do you change your money scripts?
Yeah, so, the first part is just becoming aware that you have them. And that's sort of the profound aha for most people. And so essentially, like, for example, the belief that, rich people are greedy or money corrupts, like, this is a very popular belief. in lower income systems. And it's so interesting because when you have that belief and all your friends have that belief, it becomes a huge psychological barrier for you to start to like grow your net worth because you have this negative association with money. And so just realizing that you have this belief, and the other problem with beliefs like this is then we have a confirmation bias. And so essentially we look for all the examples of rich people doing just horrific things in the world. And by the way, they're all over the place if you're looking for them, and which reinforces our beliefs. Meanwhile, we discount any sort of evidence that disconfirms this belief. So it becomes really difficult to change unless you become aware of them. And then also track where they came from. And that's what's so incredibly interesting is where did this belief come from? And you can always find an example where this belief is entirely true. Like one of the beliefs I discovered was my grandfather lost all his money in the Great Depression. And he had this belief, Chris was talking about risk management and risk tolerance. He had this belief you can't trust banks with your money. And it's like, well, of course he did, because he went to the bank one day and all the money was gone. And obviously that belief is pretty profound. What I didn't realize is that he lived into his 90s. He never put a dollar in the bank the rest of his life because that belief was held with such intention and emotion. And it's one of the reasons our family didn't advance financially. So in just sort of sorting out, like, how did that belief impact me? Well, I can see that I'm like, I don't want to be poor like my family. So I just swung, I call it a dysfunctional pendulum swing, where I swung to the opposite side. And as a matter of fact, I did the absolute riskiest thing you can possibly do with your money, because I didn't know what the balance was. And I just knew I wanted to be different than my family. So just as an example, if I wasn't able to trace that belief back to where it was, number one, I probably would have just been wallowing around in guilt and shame about how stupid I am around money. And secondly, it really put things in perspective for me. And it's like, I'm playing out this script that has been in my family for generations. And quite frankly, it hasn't been working so well for us financially. And since I want a different life, then I started to, frankly, it opened my mind up to look around for other models and other ways of looking at money.
Beautiful. I'm interested in how, as a financial planner, you kind of keep this psychological status or money scripts kind of at the forefront of the conversation and relationship with clients. What tips do you have for advisors to keep that as something they come back to?
Yes. So actually, I know advisors in your network who, will basically assess people's money scripts as they're walking in the door. They give them a risk tolerance questionnaire. They give them a questionnaire looking into their money beliefs. And that's one way that I see a lot of planners doing it. Other ones, you can actually do it more subtly too, just in conversation with people. Like, what does money mean to you? What are your goals around money? And if you're brave enough, you might even say, so what beliefs do you think you inherited around money in your family system? And what's so interesting is people probably hadn't thought about it. And that's what's so fascinating. It's just huge aha moments. Frankly, I do a lot of media interviews. And when I talk to reporters, it's like within the first 3 minutes, they're having aha moments because we just never think about this and we never talk about it. So just opening up that door, it's really profound because people will then see this belief, they'll say it out loud. And then immediately, once you sort of say it out loud and throw it on the table, you don't have to tell people that's wrong. A lot of times they'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure where that came from. I don't necessarily agree with that. And so bringing those into conscious awareness allows us to change them.
Love it. Do you believe that you have to have a financial planner or a third party or second party to pull that out of you, or can you begin to challenge your own beliefs just on your own?
I think you can do it on your own. You need to be motivated. You need to have an aha moment that this is something that you might want to do and it might be beneficial to you. I think that's the challenge. And so that's the opportunity for financial planners. And, part of the thing that I really believe quite profoundly is that people, for the most part, like the financial health in the United States is just abysmal. It's terrible. And yet I've yet to find somebody who doesn't know the basics, right? So the big problems in the United States are people don't save enough for the future. They spend more than they make. I mean, pre-crisis, all the crises. Those are the two big issues. And I've actually yet to find someone who, mere education by saying, hey, you should save for the future. And they say, what? I've never heard of that. Everybody already knows what they should be doing essentially. And so why aren't they doing it? It's 100% psychological.
Fascinating. I'm interested in this masterclass of yours, the 7 Secrets of the Wealthy. What are those?
Yeah, well, you want me to give them all away?
Of course.
I'm teasing. So essentially, I was trying to make research exciting. Okay, so that's based on a study that we did that's published. And you can find it at bradklontz.com. I have all my research there. You can just download it. If you're a geek and you want to read statistical analysis. we looked at, what I did is I did a study with Paul Sullivan, the New York Times, and we did a study looking at the psychology of ultra wealthy people versus middle class. Because again, this was something I was fascinated in as a child. And we examined some stereotypes and we looked at, is there a difference psychologically and behaviorally with these two people? And one of the things that we found, and as a financial planner, this is going to resonate with every financial planner, but what's so interesting is most people don't believe what I'm about to share with you. But essentially, we saw that these ultra wealthy people, I think they had an average net worth of around 11 million, compared to about 500,000 in the comparison group. They had 18 times more money, but they only spent twice as much on, and we asked very specifically, your house, your car, your watch, and your last vacation. And they had 18 times more money, but they only spent twice as much. Now, as a financial planner, you're like, well, of course, this is how they get their net worth. This is how they acquire it. This is how they grow it. But popular culture is giving an entirely different message to people around what wealthy people do. And it's actually one of the reasons that I am so passionate. And when we're done talking about this, I'm going to go shoot about 5 more TikTok videos, because I am so passionate about educating people around what actual wealthy people do compared to this fantasy that's being delivered. It used to be Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And then for my generation, it was MTV Cribs. And now it's just Instagram, where we're just filled with all this false narrative around what people do with money and how they become wealthy. And it's extremely destructive. So that was one of the secrets. I'll give you another one too, that is really profound. And it's called locus of control in psychology. And it's a fancy word for where do you attribute the location of control in your life? Is it internal, meaning that the results you're getting in your life are because of you? Or is it external? Like your results are the fault of whatever, someone else, your parents, all these challenges. And by the way, very, very real challenges. But are your results, you specifically, are they because of outside factors or internal factors? And locus of control, no big surprise, because there's been a ton of research done on this. Controlling for all sorts of things, controlling for gender and race and where you grew up. If you have an internal locus of control, way more success in your life. So you bounce back faster from tragedies. And in our study, we found that you were much more likely to have higher income and higher net worth when essentially you take 100% responsibility for all the bad things in your life too. Like, so if your business fails, for example, an internal locus of control would be like, where did I go wrong? An external locus of control would focus on, all sorts of external factors. So essentially blaming yourself for everything. Turns out you're gonna have more success.
Yeah. I love all of those. Thank you so much for sharing some of that, some of your secrets. The first one you shared, the perception of wealth, is actually, I've got to credit Kate Holmes, is that was one of the first things she ever told me. We went out to meet for the first time at a very kind of bougie bar and restaurant. And she said, look around, I guarantee you a majority of these people are not financially healthy. And she dove into kind of what she's learned. And it was so helpful for me as I began into this industry to begin to think about some of those things. Brad, I must know, I don't have TikTok, but I'm going to download it once I get off of this call. Tell me about your role in TikTok, how you use it, what you do.
Yeah, it's sort of bizarre that it's turning out I'm a spokesperson for TikTok. I didn't set out to do that. But essentially, so my story around TikTok, it's a new social media platform that you should really get to know it, because the rest of the world, this is where they're living, especially in the middle of a pandemic. But my 14-year-old nephews showed me this app, and it's highly addictive. It's a lot of like 15-second videos that a lot of them are quite humorous. And I was sort of stunned by it. And then all of a sudden I started to see day traders on there telling people, like how much, no, I'm serious. Like I thought this went away in the tech bubble, but it's back and full force. And basically telling people how, showing them how much money they made, et cetera. I was so incredibly appalled that I just had to dive in and start creating some content. So there's basically all this content being delivered on personal finance on TikTok. And I was like, I got to get in there and set something straight. And so that's essentially what drove me onto the platform. And as I mentioned too, growing up lower income, I have a real passion towards people having that experience who don't really understand the true path to wealth. And so a lot of my videos are focused on trying to mentor and instill, the research we're finding around the ultra wealthy, trying to take that profile and start instilling it in young minds. So I'm extremely passionate about that little hobby.
Oh, that is brilliant. It is where young people are hanging out. I thought it was just a way to show your dance moves, but I guess we're going to stumble across Dr. Brad Klontz on it. I will do that right after this. But because you know so much, Brad, you've got so much insight and education around this. Obviously, none of us can predict the future, but where do you see the future of the financial planning industry going?
So, there's a lot of challenges in the industry, and these are things we've all heard about with robo-advisors, et cetera. I am extremely optimistic about, and let me speak specifically financial planners, because I do feel like asset management is super important too, but that's being commoditized a bit. I think we've all noticed that pattern. But that's really not the issue for people. Like essentially, like I said, most people already know what they're doing or what they should be doing. Yet most people in the United States anyway are entirely self-destructive around money. I mean, most of them. And so I really feel like financial planners are in this incredible position of helping people heal, if you don't mind me using that term, and create better relationships with the number one source of stress in their life, which is money. And so I feel like the financial planners of the future and the opportunity is for us to build our skill set to be more of a life type planner, where we're looking at not just the portfolio management, but how money is intersecting in all aspects of our clients' lives, their relationships. It's the number one reason that couples divorce. So how's the relationship between partners around money? It's one of the top things that people worry about is their kids. So how is money affecting their kids? Either a lack of it or worried about passing on, quote, too much. Like, how are the kids going to handle that? It intersects every aspect of a client's life. And I feel like a lot of people aren't going to really talk to other professionals. And if financial planners can be really skilled at listening and learn some of those coaching skills, they're in an incredible position to make a profound impact on the psychological and financial well-being of their clients.
Absolutely. And the economic landscape that we are facing right now is going to be a huge opportunity for our industry to come in and prove value, prove importance, slip in and hopefully really make a change in this industry. Brad, I could talk to you for hours. Thank you so much for this wonderful interview. Kate, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Yeah, and thank you, Maddie. That was fantastic. And Brad said you said you've got love for the financial planning community, and I can tell you, seeing the comments and what's going on, and me personally, we have got love for you. That was amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm with Maddie. Like I said, I haven't been on TikTok yet, but I'll get to that this afternoon. So we are now joined by Dominic Colenso, who has put together a 3-part mini program for us here on the Global Commute of how to make an impact in online presentations based on his book, Impact. So Dominic, over to you.
Thanks, Kate. Great to be with you all wherever you are in the world. I'm coming at you live from the UK. I want to talk to you about impact, about how you show up as financial planners and how you take your customers on a journey. How do you engage with people and really get their buy-in, whether that's face-to-face or, to be honest, whether that's on TikTok. What I thought I'd do is I'd start with a little bit of a story. If you think about Porsche as a brand, Porsche fans are fans for life. They tend to dream of owning the 911. They'll wear the t-shirt, they'll wear the cap, they'll own the key ring. And Porsche as a brand has a huge amount of history. Founded in 1931, they've got 22 consumer models over that time period. They've won pretty much every award under the sun, from design to customer experience. And if you look at Porsche's market cap, its wealth, it's worth around $17 billion US. If we think of Tesla, it's a company that was founded in 2003. It's won a few awards. It's got a couple of models available, three models available to buy. There are a couple more in the pipeline. It's growing as a brand, but it's essentially the new kid on the block. Tesla's market cap is $174 billion. Tesla is worth 10 times more than Porsche. Now, why is that? Porsche is a faceless brand. Yeah, if you talk to even the most ardent Porsche fan, you're going to have a job to name who their CEO is. Yeah, I'd love to see if anyone could guess. But if you go up to someone in the street and say, who's the founder of Tesla? Who's the CEO over there? Most people are going to be able to say Elon Musk. And there is something in that that is really important for you as financial planners, as business owners. What impact are you making in the world? What are you known for? How are you showing up? Do your clients and customers know what you stand for? Now, Elon Musk, like him or loathe him, he is out there. He is making ripples in the world. He's sharing his message. He's probably not, to be honest, the most comfortable person on camera. You see him on stage, he's a little bit awkward. Some of the stuff he's putting out on social media is, a little bit Marmite, as we say here in the UK. But it doesn't really matter because he's talking to his audience and he understands the value of how you show up. He's prepared to invest in that. I'm sure he's got coaches and people supporting him, script writers and people making sure that when he goes out there, he really shows up powerfully. And I think it's interesting listening to Brad thinking about, your positioning in the market as financial planners. You essentially now, especially, post-COVID, we have this kind of TV show available to all of us. You can be out there on TikTok, you can be making videos for LinkedIn, you can be having your own YouTube channel. And when you do, you have an ability to engage with your audience. So in this little section, what I really wanted to talk about, and I'll delve into some of this a little bit deeper as we go on through the morning commute. So if you hang around for episode 12, you can hear a little bit more. I'll tease you right now. But what I wanted to talk about in this section is the physical image that you portray for your audience. Now, I'm really impressed with everyone on the commute this morning. Looking at your setups, you all look fabulous. I'd expect nothing less. But quite often, we're seeing really poor use of the online platform. So like how many conversations have you had with people like this? Now, it's lovely that I've got a skylight, right? But it's doing nothing for our ability to communicate effectively. So like how you frame yourself is really important. My background is in the world of acting. I was a professional actor for 10 years. I was in a Hollywood movie called Thunderbirds back in 2004. And the thing I learned there is to understand the frame. Now I'm in what's called a medium close-up right now. So there's a little bit of room above my head. You can see my shoulders, you can see my hands moving. And that makes us feel like we're in the room together. So it's just like me sitting across the table from you if I was coming to your office. And that's really important, the understanding the space and understanding the connection that you're making with your audience. So, looking down the lens of the camera as you're having client conversations, rather than looking down at your notes or looking at the slide deck that you're sharing, and all of a sudden you're seeing my forehead, we're not making that connection. And the other little gem that I really want to share with you before we wrap up is just thinking about your setup in terms of lighting. Now, I've got a couple of lights on right now because I do this sort of stuff for a living, but if I turn these off, here I am now in natural light. And you've lost the ability to see any real definition in my face. So you can't see me and you can't connect with me in the same way as you could if we were sitting next to each other or opposite each other across a table. So if you don't want to go to Amazon and spend some money on LED panels, just take this one piece of advice. Think about where the window is in your room. And if you're sitting with the window behind you, then what you're going to get is this white flare. So people aren't going to be able to see anything. Your face is going to be in shadow. Take your camera position and turn it round so that the light is hitting your face. So you are looking out of the window and the camera is positioned away from the window. Then you'll get a lovely morning glow on the morning commute. You'll look fabulous. People will be able to read your body language and you're going to make much more impact. So that's my kind of top tip for this session. If you've enjoyed that and you want to find out more, we're going to be doing a few more in some later commutes and I'll join you there. And if you want to get hold of more information about these sorts of topics, then check out my book Impact, which is over on Amazon.
That was awesome, Dominic. And I have to say, some people here on our end were taking some of those tips live and making adjustments. So
Good stuff.
super, super valuable. And I just have to say, when you were talking about sort of being the CEO and, having a presence like Elon Musk, I always think about musicians and how you've got every music genre and they're not trying to attract every possible person. They're coming out as their authentic self with their own style. And going back to Maddie and talking about the abundance method, just being yourself and attracting those kinds of people. And you don't have to be somebody that's going to attract everyone or no one, but having something to stand for is fantastic. So 100%. Dominic will be back. Yeah, for part 2 of the Impact Mini program at 19:30 UK time, which is 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, or in 2.5 hours, because we're all having a lot of fun trying to translate time zones around the world.
See you there. Thanks for having me, Kate.
Thanks, Dominic. So we're going to cross over to the UK and check in with a couple of our charity challenge heroes. So let's first check in with Steve Martin, who is still going on that Ironman challenge. Actually, let's start with Gretchen, because I'm seeing Gretchen.
I'm obviously just close. I'm not quite so into the cycling, am I? So I kind of press my buttons quicker. Yeah. So what have I been doing? I've been rock painting. I don't know if anyone, I know Chris has seen some of my rock painting that I've done before, but this is my the mandala
awesome.
I've just done. I find them really therapeutic. I was listening to this and I got really into it. I find the pattern, the consistent, like the detail, really, really, really therapeutic. So that one will be in addition to the garden. Maybe I'll have to give it to someone on my garden or just get full of them. And so I moved on to my next children's project, which is I saw this really cool thing on YouTube where it was making like little worry pets for kids, so that maybe could be in a box that my sister used to have them little worry dolls when she was younger that you'd like sleep with under your pillow to kind of get rid of all your angst and stuff like that. But Jackson, who's my nephew I keep talking about, is not going to be that into the dolls. So I'm going for like these little worry pets. The idea is that they're going to be made out of these glass beads that are going to have googly eyes attached, obviously, because who doesn't like a googly eye? And but underneath there's going to be sort of colored paper. I've made these discs, you can't see them very well, but that will basically, I've stuck one on, that's what I was doing. See if I can show you it. It sort of enlarges that pattern. So we're going to be different colors. And then my next challenge will be making like a little home for them, like a little box that they can all go in. So that's my next hour, glue and glue. And googly eyes getting stuck everywhere.
No, that's fantastic. And I love that you are doing this for 24 hours straight. So I don't know how long it would take me to come up with 24 different crafting challenges, but I love that you're doing it. You're inspiring all of us. You're bringing a little bit of joy to every show and raising money for charity along the way.
Yeah, and it's amazing to share like my second passion to financial planning with everyone, and that everyone really enjoys it, which is great. And I get to learn as I'm doing it because I'm listening to everyone talking, which is amazing. So yeah, bring it on. I'm not sure how I'll be feeling at about 4 o'clock in the morning, but we shall see. We shall see.
Well, you're holding up great now. Thanks, Gretchen. And I see we've got Steve there cycling away, so we'll pop over and see how Steve's doing.
Hey, Kate, how are you?
I'm doing good. See, you can still breathe. You're still...
I'm breathing because I'm slowing down. My legs are complaining somewhat at the moment. So my heart and lungs seem to be all right, but my legs are asking me firmly exactly what I think I'm doing at the moment. I'm not getting a particularly sensible response. So we are 61 miles in, which sounds good. 51 miles to go sounds less good, but at least we're over hump day. I do marvel at Gretchen. I have zero creativity whatsoever, like for anything, for art or craft or nothing. And it just comes so naturally. We should do a swap for the next one, Gretchen. You can ride a bike And I'm going to see if I can come up with like literally one creative thing during the 24 hours. So you saying you couldn't come up with 24. It would take me the whole 24 to come up with one, and it would suck. So yeah, I think the delirium's well in place. James Mousey's been messaging me suggesting I need to have some jelly babies, but for our Scottish listeners, I think I might try and medicate with iron brew instead, which will either go one way or the other. I will either be super powered like the Hulk or sick all over my iPad. So who knows?
Oh, well, you're doing fantastic. You've got a great pace going there. You're doing about a little over 20 miles an hour there. And just quickly checking in with you. I know you also deliver CFP level 7 training and soft skills courses. So since you're able to breathe, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, crikey. Yeah, so I did the CFP in 2005, and it was the most important thing that I did in my career. So up until then, I always had a bit of I don't really understand what this is about thing. And then the CFP came along, and suddenly it all made sense. It suddenly gave us a context, a framework. You could answer the questions that people asked. Assuming you could find out what was important to them in the first place, suddenly you had a way to answer their questions. Can I do this? Can I do that? It gave you a reason to invest money and all that stuff. So I've been a big fan for a long time. And it kind of lost its way. It was sort of disappeared up its own bottom in the sense that the markers were being very officious in the way that they marked it. Its reputation wasn't great. And Jackie Lockie and the CSISI kind of stripped it back to right to the very beginning, rebuilt it from the bottom up, and they needed help to support the people who wanted to do the case study part of it. And there was lots of organizations happy to support the exam bit, but nobody to support the case study bit. So whoever wanted to agree to do stupid things and not necessarily fully prepared for, and just jumping off the deep end, I was like, I do financial planning all the time, that'll be fine. So 3 torturous months later, we have delivered our first 2 courses. We have hopefully set 16 new CFPs off on their merry way to the same sort of life-changing experiences that I had and my colleague Neil Bailey had a few years before I did. And it's been great. You know, you get the chance to see people's kind of epiphany moments happening in front of your eyes as they really start to work out, now I get it. You know, stuff that Chris talks about is obviously crucial. You need to understand where you're trying to go. But if you've got no methodology to work out how you're going to get there, it's all a bit pointless. So you need both bits. So it's great when you see people, you know, it's kind of dawning on them, oh, this is what it means. This is what it's about. So it's been really cool. I couldn't do it without Neil because he asked technical questions I don't know the answer to. And they need spreadsheet help, and I can't remember how to do it. But between the 2 of us, we seem to have formed quite a decent team. So I'm really excited about it. You know, it's as you guys know, it is the preeminent qualification. It's probably only the UK where it got a bit lost because there's a chartered path that you can go down, and chartered means a lot in the normal consciousness in the UK. But hopefully it's on its way back, and we have a bit of fun doing it, and we can help a few more people complete their transition really to being fully fledged financial planners. So yeah, it's cool.
Well, Steve, I'm thinking maybe you should deliver training going forward while you're riding on your bike.
I like the idea more than my bum likes the idea, to be honest. Maybe on the daft thing with all of this is I'm really just a runner, but I got injured so I couldn't run, so I've ended up on this sodding bike. I'm looking at my treadmill in the corner, which I'd much rather be on. But anyway, yeah, some sort of sports-based training really would be the idea, so people can come and come and stay with me in the sunshine, and I'll make them run and ride a bike and swim and go to CrossFit and shout CFP stuff at them at the same time. I think I would quite enjoy it, but I can't imagine anybody's going to sign up for it.
You never know. You can start with little TikTok bits of it and see where that goes. Fantastic, Steve. We will check in with you in the next episode. Thank you to our charity challengers. We'll have a few more to check in on the next show. Super grateful for all the support that people are showing. And remember, we're raising money for a number of charities and any additional ones that you would like to donate to in your local country. So click on the links in the chat to donate. And Maddie, over to you.
Yes, absolutely. Our next show is at 5:30 UK time today, and we'll be chatting with Carolyn McClanahan, a CFP and a physician who specializes in the intersection between financial planning and health. Carolyn is incredible in this industry. You won't want to miss that. And we'll also have Phil Bray back with another marketing focus later.
Awesome. Maddie, thank you so much for joining me. This was a fantastic show. We've got our next show coming up in 15 minutes, so time for a quick break, quick snack, a coffee or a drink, and I'll be joined by regular UK show host Tom Parkinson, and bye for now.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.